Toronto from Cloud Advisory, and we provide companies with a bunch of stuff. But one is we help them generate B2B, business to business leads, but not really leads, but legitimate opportunities with their ideal client using LinkedIn. And I keep getting this one response, and I'm really, really tempted to respond to it, but I want to have like an intelligent response to it. The one response that I get from people is, oh, well, I'll pay you a commission on closed deals only. I only want real leads. And I can understand that. And here's why nobody in their right mind or worth their salt is going to work to generate leads for you for free. So this, first of all, goes to the presumption that you actually have your act together. And I can tell you from talking to most businesses that 90% of them, and I'll say this number over and over, are surviving in their business off of referrals. And it's nice to get a referral, and they're usually very high value introductions. But the reality is that means that you're not operating at your full capacity to generate new opportunities inside of your business. So first of all, you don't have lead generation under control. That's most likely. And the fact that you haven't invested time in that, anyone that's worth their salt knowing how to generate leads is not going to do it for you for free. And just the fact that someone would suggest that means that they don't probably understand the amount of work that it takes to actually generate real leads. Now the flip side to this, and I think part of this comes out of the last 4 or 5 years, there's people that are out there that sell lists. And I will tell you right now, lists are not leads. Like I get emails all the time from people that say, hey, would you like to buy 10,000 leads? It's like, that's garbage. I'm going to tell you right now, that is garbage. That is names on a list. There's no relationship, there's no connection, there's no activity to establish a connection or relationship with anybody. And so I think that's really kind of polluted the concept of what a lead is. When you're generating leads, to me, that is, you want to create marketing qualified leads, and that takes work. That takes you introducing yourself to somebody, understanding their problem, communicating to them that you understand their problem, then buying into the fact that you can solve their problem, and then they're probably willing to talk. And all doing that without talking about yourself all the time. So it's really unrealistic for someone to say, hey, I only pay for qualified leads. Okay, that's great. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. That means that you haven't probably invested in generating your own leads through a traffic and conversion plan. And particularly if you're in a business-to-business environment, that takes relationships and establishing those over time. So the second thing that it shows is that you don't really understand the amount of work it takes to get from 0 to a marketing qualified lead. Because even when you get to a marketing qualified lead, you still got to sales qualify it. You still have to put it through a sales process to actually get through all these stages, most likely, to win and close a deal. And depending on the complexity of your product, the value of it, the complexity of the customer, the stage in their buying cycle, that can take a long time. Now, do you even know what your sales process is? Again, nobody's going to invest a lot of time generating introductions for you, appointments, or meetings based upon the hope that you actually have that second part all together. So, a couple of things. One, this concept of commission to close goes back to what I think is like really very transactional sales. The only way someone in their right mind is going to work on commission is, one, if you're paying them to do something upfront, because you're recognizing that if it is a long sales cycle, there's more than just selling. You got to get to the point where you have an opportunity with someone to sell. Okay, so marketing qualified versus sales qualified leads. The second part of commission-based selling is that why would someone invest all that time with you? There better be a big upside on the other end. And sometimes I get that, like maybe you have a big deal, but again, someone's not going to be able to invest their time in that versus another opportunity. There's a huge opportunity cost. Third, they got to really be smart enough to assess, do you actually have your act together around your product, around your telling your story? And most people do not. That's just the reality. So if I ask you, can you show me your traffic and conversion plan? I bet 99% of people don't have one. What about your sales playbook? Do you have a defined playbook that shows the stages and the steps in your sales process? I bet 99% of people don't have one of those. So it's unrealistic for you to think that you're going to get that from someone, get a qualified lead that's going to close. That's the presumption. Here's a deal, close it, and I'll pay you. Great. I mean, that's great. In the end, that's another referral, and that's an over reliance upon something you don't have control over. Okay. I made some notes here. Like, it's not 1953, right? What's happening right now is you have very, very sophisticated buyers that can go out and get their own information on the internet. So why would anyone be responsible for finding a deal for you and closing it, or giving you something that's ready to close? It's way too complex typically, especially in a business to business environment. What you need to do is invest in your own sales and marketing process. And your marketing process to me is understanding what it takes to get someone from zero to marketing qualified so that you can then have the right to sell to them. And that's what linked funnels is. And that's why I like LinkedIn so much, by the way. So, someone sitting there cold calling, or someone sitting there sending cold email, those can have results, but they're tougher and tougher because there is this anonymity. Whereas on LinkedIn, if I invite you to connect with me, you're checking out my profile, you're checking out the message I'm sending to you, you're probably going to check out my company, and you can do a little bit of that research. And if you make a decision to connect with me, it's more conscious, and you're more likely to you're going to tell me whether you are ready to talk about buying something and solving a problem or not. So who's responsible? That's the other question, is if you need to take responsibility for generating your own opportunities every single day. And to think that someone's going to invest their time and energy that's worth any salt to do that over a sustained period of time without them having some sort of compensation and security up front, much less knowing that you have your act together around product, your sales process, or even service delivery to make sure that is going to turn into a commission, is unrealistic. Okay, so the more likely thing that's going to happen is if you want control where you have consistency in your business, you need to have your own traffic and conversion plan. And if you're business to business, to me, that starts with LinkedIn. So again, I talked about your traffic and conversion plan, having a sales playbook, and prospect to close. What is that timeline? What you need to do is really get serious about chunking that down. And that means probably that you need to generate a lot more leads beyond just referrals. So that's why we kind of came up with this done-for-you linked funnels process, where we're targeting your ideal client. We're creating messaging with our clients that I can tell a lot of times they've never done this before in a formal way. Sometimes it's in the person's head, whether you're a marketing agency or consultant, and it's not really formalized in any sort of document anywhere. So in the end, here's the alternative, is to invest a reasonable amount of money into a done-for-you service as opposed to just going full bore and hiring someone for 60 or 70 grand a year or 100 grand a year, whatever that's going to take. There's a step before that where you can invest in a company's product. So if you're paying our company, for example, to build and manage a linked funnel for you where we're reaching out to your ideal client, obviously we have some skin in the game, and we're committed to, number one, keeping you over time, which means we want results, but you also get expertise in a bite-sized amount that maybe you can handle. So anyways, that's just my thoughts on this. I think it's crazy to think that a lead comes from a list. I think it's also crazy to think that things like cold calling and cold emailing are going to be as effective as using in a systematic way LinkedIn. And I think it's really unrealistic to think that anyone else is going to invest in your funnel, developing new opportunities for you, when you don't have these things under control. So how do you fix that? The first thing is to start coming up with one piece of your traffic and conversion plan. And to me, that's why we have clients that jump on linked funnels, because it's affordable, more packaged than it would be just hiring and having to train and manage someone to develop new leads. So there's a lot lower risk. But then there's also expertise, where we're doing this for a number of companies. We have a formula and a process. To me, whether it's us or somebody else, that's why people are offering LinkedIn as a service, because it's effective, you can get results, and it lets someone take a baby step towards building a much larger process that's going to scale their business. But it gets them at least out of that referral trap where you're just living off of referrals. Anyways, so that's my thoughts on a Monday. Hope you have an amazing day. If you want to talk about linked funnels, I'm always happy to talk about linked funnels, but that's just kind of my thoughts on that one particular aspect of not doing anything versus taking control of a piece of your lead generation. Hope you have an amazing day. Leave your comment below and your thoughts on this. What makes more sense to you?